What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Marc Guberti, the podcasting coach here, helping people launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts. And one of the reasons that people want to start a podcast is because they see the opportunity it has to really enhance the performance of your business. So if you are looking to enhance the performance of your business, we actually have a really great episode for you that is going to be the topic. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like your business isn't moving quickly enough, we have an awesome guest who takes a deep dive into different businesses and helps them perform at their highest potential. So our special guest who joins us, he is the founder of Onirik, and he is a management consultant with over 30 years of experience in growing companies and change management. Our guest is none other than Geoffrey Wade. Jeff, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here, Mark.
Jeff, I'm so happy to have you on the show. And I feel like so many people want to have higher performance for their businesses. Like if you're a business owner, like the name of the game is to get better, to continuously improve. So I'm wondering if you could share with us how you got into helping other businesses perform at higher levels.
It's kind of a two-phase story. I had a long corporate career with multinationals, and as things happened, they decided that early in my career I was a bit of a maverick, so the ideal individual to throw out the problems. So Jeff, this business unit is not working too well, turn it around. And so I got into a habit of doing that across, I live in Australia, so initially here, but then I was offshore doing similar things. Along the way, of course, in order to do that, I kind of think of, for a long time, I've always said organizations achieve things through their people. So if you want to improve performance, you're going to do something that helps people perform at their optimum. And I was smiling. Someone sent me a video recently, and it was a presentation by Simon Sinek. Most of your audience would have heard of him, but he was passionately preaching to the audience, saying, your staff are people, your customers are people, your suppliers are people, and do you not understand that it's done through people? Technology is important, but hell, there are people who create the technology. So, having appreciated what he was passionately preaching a long time ago, I've been studying people as part of my means to help them perform at their best, and then as a consequence, their business perform at their best. And along the way, getting some of the qualifications that one does in that, I was studying experts and expertise, and the significant performance spreads that you get between people in any field of endeavor, and how you can duplicate the exceptional performance. To get that qualification, I had to build a model of high performance, which I did, and I could duplicate it. But I was fascinated. I was employed by a multinational. I'm doing this qualification on the side. I wanted to know if what I'd built would work. So I rang around and found a company that was a large company that was willing to give it a try. And it was on the basis of, look, I'm doing this study. I've got this. I think it'll work. Pay me if it works. Don't pay me if it doesn't. So I sent some consultants in, and they delivered this piece of work that I'd done. And we were given a massive performance improvement target. It was like, take the worst performing business unit and get it 20% in front of the best.
Right.
And 6 weeks later, we'd done that.
How did you do that? Like, did you find what was your process for making that change happen?
It's really good that you said the process, because while we had the model for exceptional performance, the way we rolled it out into this organization was with a change management piece that was based on my years of experience. So to answer your question, the simplest way I can describe it when I get passionate about people and performance is, there's a load of research that says, if I put it in research terms, it's, 90% of organizations do not have reliable analytics on what drives high performance. I mean, literally, I'm quoting a Deloitte study when I say that. That's almost verbatim what they say. If you translate that into plain English, it's brutal, right? It's 90% of organizations don't have a clue what they should be doing to drive performance. It's scary. And so, yeah, if you will, the modeling or the duplication of expertise is about codifying what's the stuff that drives exceptional performance in a raft of different roles. And this can be a frontline excavator operator in a mine, it can be a salesperson, a customer service person, but it can also be, your frontline leaders, your middle leaders, even your senior execs. Just about anything you can think of. So that's part of the puzzle. There's 5, if you will, my way of describing it is there are 5 to 7 things that really matter, or if you like, 5 to 7 habits that really matter in any role. And organizations are not brilliant at knowing what those 5 to 7 things are. That's one, and making sure their people have mastered those 5 to 7 things. The other piece is they're not really good at attending to whether these things are happening. Even if they're the 10% who know, they are poor at providing radical transparency around the mastery, the consistent use of, etc., those habits. And so part of what we do, the process we do is first identify the critical habits for the frontline roles where you're wanting to drive performance, the customer-facing roles, or the process, the business production-facing roles. And then we have a pretty darn good idea of what the critical habits of your front and middle managers are. For frontline roles, the habits will change role by role. Once you get into leadership, it's consistent. We know what those habits are. So we're wanting to get the leaders demonstrating those habits as well. And they're focusing their habits on the front line to get the front line consistently mastering the stuff that matters. And then, look, there's change management process that's around that, and lots of change management frameworks. But I guess if I could say, when you're studying experts and expertise, you're studying the structure of human experience and how they do things. And among the things that we study are how people learn fast, how they change quickly. So we've drawn upon that to create a process or a methodology that facilitates quick change, helps people to embrace it rather than resist it. And we even have a frame that, resistance is a great thing because it's a form of engagement with the change. And most organizations we deal with, what? Resistance good? Yes, you want it. It tells you that people are seriously thinking about the change. They're identifying the holes in it and asking questions because they want to plug them. It's kind of a different way of thinking about it. But we go with that process, if you will, where we believe the leaders are the catalyst of exceptional performance. And we provide some tools. You can call them analytics if you like, or if the metaphor one of the guys I work with uses is we provide some software that is like a Fitbit for the leaders.
Oh, okay.
And it gives them, it's a tool that they use to track and manage their coaching of their people around those critical habits. And it's a really valuable, useful tool for them. But at the same time, it gives them and the organization great real-time feedback on how well they're doing their coaching and how well they're focusing on those critical habits. You literally get a traffic light system. And so more senior managers can direct their attention to the leaders who are off track. The whole thing, it's literally a systemic approach. And I kind of, to give you an example, we worked with a retail client, and this was recently, and when we engaged with them, it was, our managers are coaching, but performance is all over the place, right? Our store managers really are coaching our people. And we said, okay, they believe that, but there's this thing where there's some research that, and it says, about 83% of managers in this assessment, this survey, across thousands of managers, thought they were doing a great job of coaching and directing their people's attention to the stuff that mattered. And then they assessed all the people who reported to these managers, right? 14% of the people said their managers were doing any form of coaching. There was just a massive blind spot. And that's literally what we found with this retail client. When we put the tool in, the analytics tool as we call it, or the coaching assessment tool, it showed that about 60% of the managers were doing no coaching at all. And then there are another 30% who are coaching on the wrong stuff.
Right.
And there were 10% who are coaching the right things and doing it consistently. And for them, it was it was a big wake-up call, because there was this massive correlation between that 10% and the 10% of their most high-performing stores.
Education's pretty key.
Yeah. And for us, we've long understood that there's a huge correlation between what leaders do and the performance of the team or the business unit or whatever. But for them, it was just, I think they were awestruck to see this almost 100% correlation between their exceptional performing stores that were in front of plan and the consistent behavior of their leaders. So they leveraged the tool to change that, and it made a big difference to their business. Over a period of about 20 weeks, they moved all of their stores to exceeding target. Long answer, but there you go.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the key thing you hear is like, you have to view people as people. I mean, when organizations get big, it's very tempting to just view someone as you do X, Y, and Z for me, instead of you're someone who I can teach. You're someone who like will look to me as a role model. Now, I know some people who are listening to this episode, maybe they have a few people hired, maybe they're just doing a side hustle and they're playing solo right now. So what would your advice be for them to achieve higher performance when like the leader they're leading their own ship, but there's no one on the ship, so it's all on them? So what's your advice for those people?
So for the solopreneurs, if you like, and the small organizations, there are two things. If you think about what I said earlier, where I said there's 5 to 7 habits that really matter. For them, it's uncover what those habits are. Now that's not hard. Go do the research on the business, the role you're in. But if you think of a solopreneur, I'll come back to what I think some of the habits are in a moment. But it's very much, the heart of it is, I might have a brilliant product, but I'm going nowhere if I don't market it and sell it effectively.
Right.
So one of the habits for you has got to be reserve a significant chunk of time to them and your budget to the marketing and sales activities that are going to grow your business. The other one that I think that is vital, that often overlooked, is if you don't have a plan, get one. So often solopreneurs are operating with, I'm okay, I'm getting a good income, I've got steady work, and my question to them is, well, what if you duplicated yourself? What if you started thinking about how you would scale your business so that now it's not just you, there's 10 of you. and you step back and start working on the business, and you've got 10 people who are doing what you do. Now, I know in some instances that's, some expert consultants have accumulated 40 years of very specialist experience. There's probably not 10 people on the planet that can duplicate what they do. But for the regular solopreneur, particularly those, if you think, who are in the business to consumer space, what I'm saying is absolutely achievable. So identify those 5 to 7 habits, and then get really disciplined about making sure you're doing them. If you've got a whiteboard or a screensaver, write on it. Am I doing the 1 to 5 right now? Am I working on those 1 or 5? One of the 5 to 7 things that really matter to my business profitability and growth, and get a really radical discipline around that. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about, in one of his principles, he calls put first things first, right? With these 5 to 7 things are the first things. And he describes what he means by that is block out chunks of time in your calendar that are sacrosanct, right? When you're working on these 5 to 7 things, turn your phone off. Have someone handle the interruptions. It's scary in this modern world. That there's research being done that says the average time duration between an interruption, particularly for someone in a leadership role, is now down to 7 minutes. About 20, 30 years ago, that used to be about 20 minutes. So it keeps getting shorter. If you don't know how to manage interruptions, you will not be productive.
Right.
So that first piece, 5 to 7 habits, know what they are. Second piece, really disciplined about following them and managing the time so that you can. And then there's a third one that I'd throw in, which is take care of your state. By that, I mean your mental state. If we talk about flow states, and it's a characteristic of high performers. You know, a flow state, if you will, if you've heard of the concept of being in the zone. You know, you get out there and if I take a non-business context, you get out on the golf course and you play the game, and it's the dream game. And you nearly do a par round when normally you've got a big handicap. And at the end of the game, you're feeling fantastic. You're proud of the result, but you're saying, what the hell did I do different today? And usually it's around having, for whatever reason, got yourself into that zone or a flow state. And there's a real structure to this stuff. I mean, we study it. We help people duplicate it. There are games, there are exercises that you can do that will help you get your flow state. And what the heck, for the listeners, if they want one of these games, you know, ping me on LinkedIn and I will send you the process. Or ping me through Marc, whatever you like, and I'll shoot you a copy, Marc. There's a process that you can do. It's what we call a split attention exercise. And I'll give you the detailed description of how to do it. But if you do this exercise, the game literally creates a flow state for you. And after you've done it a few times, it becomes so familiar, you can literally turn it on whenever you want. Flow states make a massive difference to your productivity. There's McKinsey and other research, there's academic research that suggests the performance improvement ranges between 200 and 500%. That's the productivity difference. It's huge. So that's my other tip for the solopreneurs. Get yourself the capability to play with flow states and use them, because the productivity benefit that you'll get is it's almost like doubling yourself.
Yeah, Geoffrey, really valuable stuff. I like the idea of that scale factor, that thinking of way to duplicate yourself, whether it's just enhanced productivity or hiring someone for just some of the different tasks that you do, because you only have so much time in your day. And when you do open yourself up, you see different things. So some people, they come to me and they want to do podcasting, but they say they don't have enough time. So this is certainly a way to open up more time. And for anyone who does want podcasting or public speaking or content marketing guidance, I do coaching on that. So if you text the word strategy to 31996, or just go to marcguberti.com/strategy, we could set up a free call for anyone who's interested in growing in content marketing, public speaking, or having their own podcast. So definitely something to think about if any of those areas are for you. So it's interesting how we have the organization dynamic, we have the solopreneur dynamic, but there is that individual factor also, because you can know what to do for a business, but if you as an individual, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing the right things for you, it's going to be bad. So how do we achieve higher performance as individuals, not just within a company, but just in life in general?
That's a good question. I'm going to go off on a tangent that'll probably make you smile, but some of the people in the audience go, how does that relate to business? Hey, we started out by saying you achieve stuff through people. And you just said, in big business, medium-sized business where we often work, it's about teams. But when you're a solopreneur, it's like you are the team, right? So you're the person through which everything's achieved. If you're not the custodian of yourself, you're screwing up your ability to perform. And by custodian of yourself, I'm going to start talking about really foundational stuff. You live in a human body. Are you getting enough sleep? So seriously, I can't overemphasize how profoundly this impacts performance. And I'll come back with some stats after I rattle off some of the things that I encourage people to attend to. If you're not confident that you're getting quality sleep, there are apps that you can get for free or purchase for your phone that you stick beside the bed, and it will calibrate the quality of your sleep and tell you whether you're getting enough. It'll tell you whether you get by in 7 hours, whether you need 8 or 9, and it'll tell you whether you're snoring and all that sort of stuff. But get one of those apps, take control of your sleep, and make sure you're getting enough. Make sure you're getting enough good sleep. I cannot tell you how much you'll get from one of these simple apps. Real eye-opener. And if you're getting good sleep, Well, at least you can put a tick in that box. And if you're not, then you'll do something about it and you'll be surprised at the performance difference. I mean, I could rattle on about the health consequences of not enough sleep, but not enough sleep will kill you, right?
Definitely.
Seriously, that's how earnest I am about it. But from a performance perspective, it seriously degrades your performance.
Yeah.
And as an example, when you're working during a business day as a solopreneur, you want cognitive agility for, I'll jokingly say 8 hours, right? Because I know most solopreneurs who are listening to this will go, 8 hours? Where does he get off? It's a 12-hour day. Well, yeah. But you want it for the full working day. The research says that folks who are getting compromised sleep, they're lucky to get 3 hours of cognitive agility. That means after 3 hours, your productivity tanks. Your ability to make smart decisions tank. It's that profound. The next foundation, hydration. Drink enough water. Your brain and body will malfunction without enough water. So figure out what you need, which is going to be, typically they say 2 liters a day, 2.5 liters a day, maybe more. I mean, you get some from your food, but make sure you're drinking enough. If you drink a little bit too much, if you drink half a liter too much, it ain't going to screw up your body. You're just going to go to the bathroom an extra time. So you're better to drink too much and take that cost than you are to drink too little, where, again, the brain malfunctions, your organs start to malfunction, your ability to physically and mentally perform falls apart. So look after you as a person. Exercise. Now, a lot of people, oh man, I am not going to the gym. I hate that place. Exercise doesn't mean you have to go to the gym.
It doesn't.
Look up NEAT, NEAT. It basically means move while you're at work, right? It means that while you're sitting in your chair, you can jiggle your feet. It means that, every 30 minutes, get up and walk up and down a few flights of stairs. It doesn't so much mean, go to the gym and push weights or do high interval. Well, actually, if you're up for doing it, high intensity interval training is brilliant because, in 6 minutes, you get a massive workout. And I'm really precious about time. So I confess that I do a bit of HIIT, as we call it, a high intensity interval training. But that's basically just do something like run up and down stairs or sit on a rowing machine and do 30 seconds until you think you're going to die, and then take 2 minutes of rest and recovery, and then do another 30 seconds of everything you've got. It's fantastic for your health. Now, having said that, go see your doctor before you do it. Right? No, really, really earnest. Anyone who's going to take on exercise, get a health checkup first. Take your medical practitioner's advice and ease into it. But the easiest and safest one is, again, your mobile phone. If you wear a Fitbit, track the number of paces you're doing, the number of moves you're doing. Just move during the day. It is not necessarily about doing the exercise. Sitting on your butt is really, it's like all the research on this now is saying, it's another one that's killing you. But you can stand at your desk. You can do stand-up meetings. Whenever you talk on the phone to someone, get up and pace up and down. Yeah. I got a reason for doing that. Yeah. When you do that, the body moves, the brain moves better. You will think more fluidly and more creatively. If you're a whole car commercial character and don't care about your fitness, do it for the commercial reasons. You'll have more successful phone calls. So you can see that I'm talking a lot about care for your, care for your body, your mind and your body in one unit. And if you look after them, it makes a profound difference to your ability to perform. I alluded earlier to the cognitive agility that flows from hydrating, exercising, getting enough sleep. And the research on that's pretty solid. When you take care of those things, you get cognitive agility day long. And that will ramp up your ability to make smarter decisions, to make faster decisions, and to scale your business. Well, that's the selfish perspective, but there's another reason you'll do it. You'll do better work for your customers. You will engage with them more effectively. You'll deliver higher quality output for them. And as a consequence, you get greater loyalty. There are just so many dimensions to this that are backed up by research.
And the thing is, this is really simple stuff. It's just like drink water. It's just exercise. It's just sleep. But sometimes it's really the simple stuff that works, and not taking care of yourself in really simple ways like that, it's really going to deteriorate your business. And there's some people who they feel like they have to sacrifice things. Like they have to have like 4 hour nights of sleep so they can be working for 18 or 20, and then they just do that for a year. They said all the sacrifice, and then they could go back to being healthy. But they complement each other, and that's a really key point that Jeff brings to us in this episode.
Yeah, and then where do I get that? Well, partly from the research, but partly, I admitted that part of what we do is we study experts and expertise. And if I can put a dimension on that, it's actually a really important one for your audience. And just to emphasize this, look after yourself so you can perform well. The incredible performers that we study in our business, they all do this, right? They really look after themselves so that they can do that performance. How significant is that? I've quoted some numbers earlier. Let me get you to hold some pictures in your head that might help. And I mean, I take you back to high school maths. So half the audience, their eyes glaze over the moment I say that. but just remember that old bell curve from statistics, right? You can unglaze the eyes, picture the bell curve. Most people imagine that human performance complies to this bell curve distribution. It's 3 standard deviations wide, if you can remember that. And I mentioned the standard deviation. Sorry for the eyes glazing over because we're going somewhere shortly with that. I'm going to share with you what a standard deviation equates to in performance. But only 6% of human performance distributions comply to the bell curve. So what's the other 94%? It's what we call a Paretian curve or a long tail, which basically imagine a curve that starts, the top left and just slopes down and goes way out to the right, and way out to the right is, where it's nearly touching the axis is the low performance. And here on the left, where this thing starts way up high, are what we call the high performers or the hyper performers. So you probably guess from me saying, imagine that curve going way out to the right. Suddenly it's not 3 standard deviations wide anymore. We've seen these curves as wide as 15 standard deviations between the low performers way out on the right and these exceptionally high performers on the left. So solopreneurs, you want to be a high performer. You want to get the best out of your time. It's okay. It's not going to be 2 or 3 standard deviations more. It's massive. It can be 6 or 10 standard deviations. And so what? What's a standard deviation worth? Again, lots of research on this. They started to codify this in the 90s, and it's been duplicated by multiple researchers since. Depends on what you do, but here are the numbers. If you're doing a really simple mechanical role, very simple, 1 standard deviation is worth 19% on average. If you're doing a complex role, which is probably more typically what your audience are doing, it's worth 32%. The moment you get into a leadership role, it's worth 48% per standard deviation, right? And then if you're in a sales role, right, and that some people are going to struggle with this number. In a sales role, it's on average 120%. Now, some people are going to question that and say, bollocks, don't believe it. Guys, I said the research has been done repeatedly. You really have to understand this. One researcher came out at 120%. Another set of research done by someone else, 123. Another set of research came out, it was 121, I think, right? Do you get the idea? This is not a one-off. The number's real. And then I would say, what we've done with working with corporations, we often work with their sales teams. And the way we work, we guarantee our results, right? So we engage to deliver a result, not a suite of services. Our contract is a commercial outcome. And when we engage with the sales team, we engage to deliver a performance improvement, typically a percentage performance improvement. We have often engaged where the contractual guarantee up front is 100%. And our clients think we're barking mad, and they engage us because there's a guarantee and they think they've got nothing to lose. And then when the project is over, time after time, I've had a conversation with a client where they, our project manager's presenting and their decision makers are there, and they'll say, remember when you promised 100%? We thought you were crazy, but we had nothing to lose because you guaranteed it. The stats have gone up, and it was 200% with this team and 300 with that, 540 with that. We can't believe it, but it's happened. It's real. So Just wanted you to know your credibility is rock solid around here now. I've had that experience so many times. To your audience, I give an impassioned plea. Understand that one standard deviation performance improvement for your sales team is 100% plus. It's double. So, if you're doing sales activity yourself, if that's a significant part of your role, understand that by attending to those 5 to 7 habits that matter, you could double your effectiveness. Really get serious about it. It's worth it. So there you go. It's kind of why I'm so passionate, I suppose, about what we do. I genuinely believe that the human resources of solo organizations and large organizations are the most undervalued, untapped assets of an organization. And I'm also a believer that leaders and solopreneurs, if you haven't got a coach or a mentor, there's another big tip. Get one, because they will act like a leader for you and hold you accountable. They'll also help you identify what you should be doing. They'll hold you accountable. And leaders, coaches, and mentors, they are the catalysts of exceptional performance. And that's how we see ourselves when we engage with a client. We see ourselves as catalysts. And there we go. That's how I'm passionate about it. But
it's really insightful that these like a few small changes could really catapult your results. And
big time.
I feel like if we just pay attention to the few habits we have in our lives and focus on the ones that work, kick out the ones that don't, we can really excel with our performance.
Yeah, and there's another dimension that comes with it that I've played down, but let me add this too. When you attend to this stuff, your joy, your pleasure, your passion in your work. You can hear me talking about it. Everyone says I'm like a kid in a toy shop when I'm at work. And it is a bit like that for me. For any of your audience who are not having that experience with their work, do attend to these habits that matter in your health. When you get this stuff, it adds an enriched dimension of pleasure to your work, an enriched dimension of engagement, so that you're jumping out of bed in the morning and you know what you're going to work for. You connect more deeply with the why, and the why is often not about making money. It's about stuff that's connected to your deep values, to what's important to you in the world. And when you're working on stuff like that, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, definitely. When you do love what you do, like, I love doing these interviews. It's very obvious Geoffrey loves his work. And for people who do want to continue following your work and just see what you're all about, where are some of the places we can find you?
Well, the easiest one for most people, I think, is look for me on LinkedIn and connect with me. I post regularly on LinkedIn. And by regularly, I mean 3 times a week. And I'm very much about my postings. There's the odd rave where something in the world drives me nuts and I call it BS. But mostly, and funnily enough, when I do those postings, they're the ones that get the most massive engagement because everyone does their rave back. We have a bit of fun. But mostly what I do is I'm giving away tips. I take what we've learned and I'm really happy to share it with the audience. So most of my stuff, if you want to read it, you will get a couple of tips a week that you can take that are really simple to employ, and they will help you perform better in your business.
Geoffrey, thank you for sharing those resources. We'll also be sure to include the LinkedIn and all the other links mentioned in the show notes. We'll also include the coaching link also for anyone who wants to schedule a free call. You can also text strategy to 31996. Geoffrey, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Breakthrough Success. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. My pleasure, Mark. I enjoyed talking with you. I can tell you're passionate about what you do too, because unlike your audience, I get to see you and the big smile as we're talking with one another. So thanks you for sharing the time with me and giving me the opportunity to communicate with your audience. Appreciate it.